Welcome to the New Year's Day episode 2025. And we got a good one for all of you. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate AI Flash. And I have Brian Boero. He's the co-founder of 1000 Watt, a premier marketing and brand agency serving the real estate industry for many years. He's been in real estate media, marketing, and technology since 1997. So today we're going to dig into marketing and brand in the age of AI. So welcome, Brian.
Rajeev, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's a great episode to kick off the year because there's so much happening in AI. I feel like I've been on this ChatGPT/AI journey for like 2 years, and it's been like a decade in normal technology with the speed of which it's evolving. So nobody's keeping up. So I don't have FOMO with all this stuff,
Yeah.
But I think it has some meaning to how we embrace it responsibly. And I really wanted to dig into your marketing brain. But before we begin, there's not a person that's listening to this show that doesn't know Brian, but in case they don't know Brian, I'd love for you to sort of give us your backstory and bring us to today into how you got into real estate and the whole thing.
Sure. So as you noted, I've been around this business since 1997, which, God, I can't believe that. And I got into it by happenstance. I didn't plan on it. I've never sold real estate, never run a real estate brokerage. But I got into it by joining Brad Inman. It was then Inman News, Inman.com was a new venture in 1997. Joined him there, eventually became president of Inman. And the rest is kind of history. I've been around this industry as a marketer, a technology person in media, and I love it. I'm still not bored after 27 years.
That's awesome. And your wife is a real estate agent, correct?
My wife is a real estate agent. So the only time I am not thinking or talking about real estate is the 6 to 8 hours I sleep every night.
Well, you're the perfect guy for the show, for sure. So, the reason I wanted to get you on the show was I was at your summit, and we'll talk a little bit about this summit that you're holding. It's an annual summit that you do. But I was at your summit, inaugural summit this past year, and you and a few others did something, a ground up brokerage if you had to start something, and there was an AI component to it. And as things went on, I said, it'd be great to have Brian on the show to talk about marketing and brand. So what was your first aha moment with AI, Brian?
My first aha moment with AI was really working with ChatGPT on strategy. So, look, when ChatGPT first hit, I think we all kind of played around with it. And my first dabbling really was around, hey, can it write me some clever headlines? How would it summarize this or that or the other thing? And frankly, I was not terribly impressed. And it wasn't until much more recently that I came to understand that I was not using the tool correctly. And really that I needed to engage the model with the thought that I was basically interacting with an advisor. And that paradigm helped me quite a bit and has helped me and others at 1000 Watt sort of think through an approach to things like, how might we approach a certain strategic question? How might we approach a discovery workshop with a client? And these are things that we've known how to do for years and years and years. But sometimes when we're looking for kind of a new doorway into a question or a problem, sort of engaging ChatGPT or Claude or other, there's many models, but engaging it as sort of an advisor with whom you can interact has really been a revelation for me and for others at the company.
Yeah. So, you run a very successful marketing and brand agency in the real estate space. Everybody knows 1000 Watt. And I figured there are some areas that AI probably is helping you guys scale your productivity, think outside the box a little bit of things you may not have considered. So the first question I want to kind of dig into is, and you are a good storyteller, Brian. I've heard you speak many times. Recently, we were at the Bright retreat not too long ago, and there was, what role do you think AI plays in storytelling and content creation in terms of building a strong brand, whether it's an agent, team, or a brokerage?
Yeah. I tend to think that AI will help brands, whether they be a global brand or an individual brand, basically amplify and scale their story. Now, there's an interesting qualification there. I said amplify and scale. I did not say um, discover or design. I think that the idea here and where I see this going is if you have a brand that has a certain point of view or a tone of voice or a certain perspective on the world, AI will help you sort of scale that and amplify it and bring it to market faster and in different ways, more effectively. And I think that's really liberating in a lot of ways, but it does not get us off the hook from that initial sort of phase of, okay, what does my brand mean? What do I want to be in the world? What's my point of view? How really am I different? So I view it really as, it's almost an operational question, Rajeev, and I know you understand that. If you're running a marketing department or managing a brand, I think AI is going to be a tremendous help just in doing the work of taking things to market, telling stories in different places, all of that stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of conversation, Brian, about how AI could replace people. I'm not in that camp at all. I think it amplifies your potential. And if you think about starting with a human concept first, put ideas on a sheet of paper, then AI can help you accelerate, and then you review it, and then it makes sure so there's human, AI, and then human in the process. I think if you think about it that way, I think you get much further with your voice and your brand to your scale comment that you made.
Yeah, that's a really good way to think of it. It's like an AI sandwich, right?
AI sandwich, yeah.
And I can remember, and you've been around the real estate business a long time too, Rajeev. I can remember even in the late 90s, way back when, people would say, well, technology is not going to replace realtors. Realtors with technology are going to be replacing realtors. And you could still say that you could say the same thing today about AI. And the reality is we have more realtors in the United States of America than we did 25 years ago. So I don't see some sort of mass disintermediation or extinction event. What I'm hoping actually, though, is that we will see those who are capable and who implement these tools that are now in front of us. I hope they win more market share because they're just able to spend more time, doing the thing they do best and using AI in their operation.
Yeah. I recently had an episode with Charles Netter. He's in the Connecticut area, $100 million team with 15 people. And he said he's embraced certain components of AI in his workflow. And he said, I can see myself doing twice that business with the same team.
Totally.
Because operationally, to your point, he knows when to use AI and when not to. And so that kind of leads me into the next question is, how do you balance leveraging AI? I feel like, you know this better than anybody, that people do business with people and not brands sometimes. Yeah, brand have a way to kind of pull you in with their messaging. How do you balance leveraging AI for efficiency while maintaining like a human, authentic connection with your people?
Well, I think part of it, and I can't stand this word, Rajeev. It's another word that's been around forever, transparency. I read something actually just yesterday that said something, it was some absurd, I'm not getting it right, but you'll get the idea, that something like 81% of all LinkedIn posts over 200 words are generated by AI. And I think we can all, if we spend any time at LinkedIn, can recognize those types of posts, right? And it's becoming increasingly evident. And so I think we're already seeing where there's sort of cracks forming in between the seams of human and AI driven marketing. And I think that's only going to become more apparent over time. So I guess to answer your question, I would get out ahead of it and just say, hey, listen, this is me. This is, my authentic voice. This is not created with AI. And then also to be really clear about how and where you use AI in your business. Because I think people will appreciate that.
Yeah.
Instead of pretending to be a human, sounds to me like it's better to just say, this is how we deploy AI. And this is where you will experience AI when working with us or encountering our brand.
Yeah, for sure. I've always believed that we're still very early in this AI journey for most agents that are listening to this podcast. There will be a separation season, and to your point, when you go online, I can call out an AI post from a mile, right? Because it has like emojis. People haven't. It's not their voice. You know how they did it before. Now that, and I think to that point, they've not really learned and mastered how to use AI to make sure it is. And I have this simple definition. If AI can write for you and nobody knows the difference, you know how to use AI well.
Yeah.
Right. And there's, when to use it, when not to use it.
Right.
So to your point, I think defining where you use it and where you don't and making that transparent to a certain degree, I think is a great place to start. Yeah. So anything else you want to add on that, Brian?
No, I just think I'm with you. It's very early days. And, I get asked about it a lot. And the first thing I say is sometimes, by real estate agents, brokers, team leads. And the first thing I say is this is absolutely not a fad. And I am as skeptical as anybody around this business. I've seen us in real estate gravitate towards every shiny object up to and including Pokemon Go. You remember that? We all got obsessed with that for about 6 months. We got all jazzed about the metaverse and started, prognosticating about how many billions of real estate we'd sell in the metaverse. And like it kind of came and went. This, I feel, is absolutely different. And it's kind of an exciting moment.
Yeah. And I always say this, for me, at least in my lifetime, there's been 3 transformative moments, technological moments. One was the internet, smartphone, and now AI.
For sure.
In that sense. And I agree with you. I think we're still early. Everybody's trying to figure it out. Yeah. So how can AI help? I mean, real estate agents obviously are trying to create a brand for themselves, separate themselves from, quite frankly, we probably have too many realtors, right? We all can say. And I think the cream will rise to the top and more professionals winning more business, to your point from earlier. How can AI help real estate agents create more personalized marketing campaigns that potentially they couldn't do before that resonate with their target audience? And I have a couple of things that we've done at where I work, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I think the opportunity here, let me back up a little bit. Marketing in the real estate business is a look around thing, right? Whether you're in the agent side, brokerage side, or your team lead, you kind of look around and see what other people are doing who are successful, and then you do that. And the opportunity that AI presents to us is maybe to kind of start to look inward. And if we engage with AI sort of in this role of an advisor with whom we can have a dialogue and tease out and develop ideas and tactics and strategies that are unique to us, then I think that is an opportunity for the really thoughtful practitioner to stand out, as opposed to just saying, well, I see somebody over here doing X or Y on YouTube or Instagram Reels or with their email marketing. I need to do exactly that. So there's this potential, and it could go the other way too, this potential for actually cultivating differentiation in voice and tone and marketing using these tools.
Yeah, for sure. And that brings me to some of the research that you guys have done. There's a little plug for some of the work that 1000 Watt does for the industry. We're a member of the 1000 Watt membership, and you can learn more. I'll put a link in the show notes, 1000watt.net. And what I love about the research, it's all grounded in consumer research and data, which is so sorely needed in the industry today with everything going on. So if you're not a member, I would urge you to consider that. To learn more. Anything else you want to add to that? I know you have office hours that happens, Facebook group, the whole thing.
So the whole idea is based on this belief that we have that marketing really starts with listening. And generally speaking, as an industry, even though there's been research from NAR and folks like Zillow do some research, we have not done a good job of methodically listening to the people who, at the end of the day, decide whether or not we get to stay in business. So the whole idea with the membership product is to develop research that is original, maybe asking questions that are not asked before, spin out ideas based on that research, and then actually sort of develop them into tactics, not like a copy and paste type of deal, but like take the idea based on the research and turn it into something that somebody can adapt to their brand and their marketplace. And that's really the process of marketing, right?
Yeah.
It's listen, do your homework, your research, hypothesize, generate ideas that you want to test out, then test them and repeat that process. Yeah. So that's the idea.
Yeah, and we're doing that. We're in the midst of doing that now with your 2,000 homeowner research that you just published, and we find there's an awareness deficit in certain areas that consumers don't have.
Yeah,
just like there's an AI awareness deficit, there's a consumer awareness deficit.
For sure,
and we're doing stuff to kind of increase an awareness campaign to bridge that deficit, so we do hold our fiduciary responsibility. So, great research. Check it out at 1000watt.net. Membership. And then the other two things that I really want to call out, I was earlier last year, June, I think, you had your first marketing and brand summit in Dallas at that fun place. I forget the name of it now, but
Gillies.
Yes, Gillies. And it was my first time, and I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I hold you guys in high regard, and I walked away with some tremendous ideas. And it was put together so well. It was not vendor heavy. It was really adding value to people that are attending it. And I can't wait to come back this year again in June. So if you're in marketing, a real estate agent, a marketing director listening to this, I would encourage you to consider coming to Summit, which is their conference that's happening in June. And you can find that as well.
It is April 8 and 9.
There you go. April 9th is my birthday, Brian. So
okay. Well, we did it in Dallas in June last year, and we didn't get many complaints. But the one we got was, "Oh my God, it's 100 degrees here.
Right.
Please." So we decided to do it earlier.
That's perfect. And if you're coming, I'm leading an AI workshop at Summit. So that's a little icing on the cake, and I'm sure we're going to get into that as well. So,
well, that's part of the cake itself, not just the icing, Rajeev.
The cake is what happens on the main stage, Brian. No, I'm coming for the cake.
Yeah, no. As your listeners know, you know what you're doing, and you're excellent at connecting a lot of these dots. So we're really thrilled to have you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. And if you're also, the other one that I want to promote is you guys have a really good newsletter called The Dose. And that you can go, it's a free newsletter. You can subscribe to it. So you can get into the minds of Brian and his entire team about how they write and telling a story as well. So anything else you want to add on AI before I get to my closing questions, Brian?
No, go for it.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of noise that has happened last year, some that was imposed upon us with this NAR settlement, the whole thing that happened. So if looking back at your 27 years in real estate, almost to 1997, what advice would you give an agent starting today if they want to build their real estate brand? It's a big question, but
develop a point of view. And what I mean by that is there are too many real estate agents. There's still 1.5 million. It's really tough. There's not enough inventory. So there are too many people chasing too few deals. It's really, really tough. And so what the impulse is for many, many new agents is to cast their net as widely as possible and be everything to everybody, which is exactly the opposite of what they should be doing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do that. It's hard to focus, and it's hard to say what you stand for and to have a point of view out of the gate. And so what I sometimes encourage people to do who are just starting in the business is to really look inward and think about what they are uniquely prepared to deliver to the marketplace that they think isn't evident through the services of the agents they know. In other words, when you look at the real estate industry, what problem are you solving? Or what sort of better world of real estate are you here to make possible? And that's a big picture question, but it will help you develop a point of view on this business. And when you identify that, then it's your job to express that. And it may mean that you don't work with certain types of clients. Maybe you really specialize. Maybe it means you just work in these types of areas, or in this, niche, you just do condos or whatever. But to really specialize and develop a defined point of view, because the brands that we all know and love, if you think about them, have that pretty well defined, right? What is our point of view on the world? What is our point of view on what a car should be, for example?
Yeah.
It same goes for an individual real estate practitioner. But, the reality is, Rajeev, and I know you see this as much as I do, is if you look out across the world of real estate marketing at the agent level, 99.999% of it looks the same.
Yeah.
Everybody says the same things, does the same things, is in the same places. And the opportunity is to consciously step outside of that, which is risky and scary, but it's the advice that I would give.
Wow. Great advice. Great advice for a New Year episode with fresh advice that people could potentially internalize and grow their business. So the other one, last question, the one book or podcast, I know we read a lot or listen, depending on how you consume content, that has helped you that agents should check out.
Well, I'll give you a book that I read recently. I don't read many business books, but this one was super good. It ties into my last answer. It's called Sales Pitch, and it's by a woman that you saw speak at our summit this past June, April Dunford. And it's really written from the point of view of B2B software, but don't be put off by that. You can think about your listing presentation as an agent the same way. Yeah. It's a good, quick read and super helpful. Sales Pitch. Podcasts. Well, I have gone way down this rabbit hole in this podcast called The Rest is History. A history podcast. And I got into it because they did this multi-part series on the French Revolution. And it's absolutely fascinating. And I guess it's relevant. And I make these connections because you are able to look retrospectively at people's thought processes and tactics and strategies. And, we all know how the story ends with history, but it's interesting to look at how people thought through things looking backwards. So I actually enjoy it thinking about, the present day and the world I live in. Yeah, no,
I appreciate those are sales pitch. I made a note of it. I haven't gotten it yet, but this is an impetus for me to get the book.
It's super good.
Yeah. So thank you, Brian. First of all, I want to thank you for your contributions to real estate, and anytime I hear you speak, you always make me think outside the box and think a little different and not have the group thing going on. So appreciate all the contributions for you and your firm, 1000 Watt. For helping agents and brands like many companies that are brokers that are listening to our show to reinvent themselves to be relevant and thrive in the new year.
Well, Rajeev, thank you for that. And thank you for having me on. And thank you for getting out in front of all this and leading on it. And you do a great job. So thank you for doing what you do.
I appreciate that. And wish you a happy new year, Brian. And
yes.
Cheers to a super 2025. And if I don't see you before, definitely I'll see you at Summit in June.
Absolutely. April. Exactly. Thank you, Rajeev.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.